Hello and welcome back to another episode, Tribe Family. If you are enjoying these episodes and feeling completely inspired to do possibly just as I am, you should give Anchor.fm a try and record your own podcast absolutely free. They have all the tools to be as creative as you want, and not only that, they'll do all the work to distribute your episodes to every major platform. Best part is, you can even start earning money from having just a little bit of fun. Get over to Anchor.fm, download their app, or head over to their full website. Until then, enjoy this next amazing travel story from my next guest.
Good morning. This is your wake-up call. Wake-up call. Wake-up call. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello, podcast world and all the listeners out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the globe listening in. I would like to welcome you to the initial launch of the podcast series 4, Inspire the Collective, where each season will be different, but all with guests and information to inspire, to bring recognition to the people out there that are living their dreams, and to also raise up a community of people in developing their passions to chase the life that they have always wanted to live. I have to say that I'm super excited to get into this first season, as it is all about something I'm extremely passionate about, and I know a lot of people out there are as well, and that is traveling. Since it is our first episode, and for those who don't know me yet, my name is Michael O'Shea, aka your neighborhood travel guide, aka the king of the 2-day holiday, aka the passport filler, aka the rocket man, aka catch me if you can, and aka the traveling hobo. There are a lot of inside jokes within those nicknames, which we can get into throughout these episodes, but welcome to the season 1 of the first episode of What's in Your Backpack. And just to give you a little brief description of what to expect of this season is bringing you, the listener and the traveler, personal experiences from people around the world that I have traveled with or met along my journey. I want to share their information, their stories, to bring you inspiration and benefit in your travel addictions. The whole point is to bring some fun, some useful and truthful information through conversations to assist you in your travels with insider tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts, the where-tos and where-nots for traveling. I mean, I can't even begin to express how excited and so beyond grateful I am to have this first guest on episode 1 of What's in Your Backpack. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this man has traveled the world. He has lived in Asia. He's insanely passionate about music. He DJs. He speaks 2 languages. Man, the guy is super witty and funny, has one of the biggest and softest hearts that I know of, and has his own mailing address at Burning Man. Mr. Keith Andrews. Mr. Keith, how are you today? And thank you so much for being on the first episode.
Hey, Mike. What's up?
How are you, brother?
Doing great, man. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on the first episode. It's such an honor.
Man, it's such an honor for me. And I think, man, this is an epic day to kick this off. I mean, every day is an epic day to do something profound. But today, just feeling extra alive, my friend, with you here with me to get this podcast and this episode off the ground. So I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, pleasure's mine. Yeah.
And so
looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. It's definitely rehashing some memories, bringing up some old wounds maybe, but I think overall it's going to be a really good time. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, just Keith, I know you personally very well, but please share a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where are you living? Who are you?
Right. So I was born in Southern California, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in Santa Barbara. From there, I moved out to Las Vegas and was DJing out there for a little bit. I moved from there to Tokyo, back to Santa Barbara, I went out to Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong for about a year. Came back and, right now, currently, I reside in Nevada City, which is at the foothills of the Sierras, just about an hour and a half away from you in Reno, on the California side. I'm living here DJing and, still dreaming about jumping on airplanes, going to vacation,
How long you been living out there in Nevada City? And is that a touristy area or just kind of more locals?
Yeah, so I've lived in this area for close to 10 years, kind of on and off. It is, it was actually voted one of the best cities in in California, maybe America, but by Sunset Magazine
Wow.
last year. It's a really quaint, kind of like old gold mining town.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, it's really cool. Like, so the downtown area has all this really old architecture. I mean, it really looks like you're still stuck in, like, 1849.
That's got to be interesting for like probably like the people. There's probably a lot of people that probably have never even left there.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's a great community. There's a lot of, kind of alternative living lifestyles here. It's a good mix. I mean, you've got a lot of hippies, you got a lot of, some rednecks, you got some farmers, you got, kind of some retirees from the Bay. But the real jewel is we have the South Yuba River, as it's just right here in our backyard, and it's
Oh,
epic river, super clean, beautiful waters. During the summer, there's just endless people always, up and down the river, swimming, bringing their kids. We're close to the snow, about 45 minutes to Tahoe. So yeah, there's a lot of natural beauty here,
yeah.
which
It sounds like the culture like is probably really awesome. Seeing that you have so much nature and you have just the eclectic of type of people that are there. Seems like it probably keeps you pretty and not like it's not too boring.
no, not really, but at the same time, it's kind of mellow. So like, you don't have the hustle and bustle of a big city, and there are some really great, talented musical artists here as well. So there's a lot of good shows that come through here. So I get to see some of my favorite acts come, pop into town and have kind of a little bit more of an intimate setting. I don't have to deal with traffic on the freeway.
Yeah,
But
that's
at the,
nice.
but at the same time, I love big cities and I love, metropolises, and I kind of do miss, jumping on subways and kind of the hustle and bustle. But no, it's mellow. It's great. It's lovely here. I love it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I do like big cities, but I do like getting to the part where it's like it's very calm too. Like I love the trains, but then I love nothing as well. So I can get where you're coming from. Sounds like a pretty awesome city.
It is. It is.
Awesome. When was the last time you've actually traveled? Like, I mean, anywhere? I mean, especially with the coronavirus. Like, did you even go to the store recently? Or
Yeah, I have to get a pass to travel to my bathroom. So, yeah, like the coronavirus here, people are taking pretty seriously, which I think is important. I did travel. I went down to LA last week.
how was that? Oh, that was
I was
recent.
a little bit worried, driving. I was driving. I didn't want to jump on a plane at that point, so I was driving down, and I was like, am I going to get pulled over? Like the National Guard going to be there? Like, what's going to happen? And actually, it seemed like people were just driving as normally as they would on the 5 freeway going down.
Yeah.
Um, it was a short trip. I stayed overnight, and I slept in I went to a hotel, so I went like and got a nice hotel there. Um, People seem to kind of just be cruising around. Now, mind you, this is about a week and a couple days ago. So, um, this, like the news is ramping up every other day. There's something new. It's something bigger. It's something crazier. So it's a little bit more relaxed then, but it's people are definitely getting a little shook out there, and I think rightfully so. Um,
Yeah, this is some crazy times, right? I think
yeah,
it's some crazy times, but at the same time, I like to see it as it's quite an interesting time for all of us to witness in the world and with everything going on.
absolutely, absolutely. I do love seeing people coming together more and community
Yeah.
trying to help each other. That's one of the great things about being a human is that we do have that ability, and when we actually utilize it, it's miraculous sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I do like to hear about the people that are coming together, and like you see all the videos about Italy and different countries getting out and cheering and chanting for the doctors and to each other, and that's really, really beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
Go
Before
ahead.
that, I'm sorry. Before that, let's see, the last traveling I've done, particularly overseas. Geez, it's been a while. So I must have been going to. It was. I think I went to Iceland and Europe, and then saw you in Bali.
Yep.
That was a while back.
Oh, that
Uh,
was a while back.
yeah, the last few years I've actually just been kind of grounded here, and stacking paper and just kind of doing small local trips and kind of like keeping it central. Trying to plan another you know epic adventure like we did. So
Yeah, that's definitely got to be in the
stacking paper
future.
up a little bit for that one.
Yeah. All right. So Keith, just like before we get deeper into this rabbit hole, because there's definitely a lot of stuff I want to bring up, but I've put together this little disclaimer for my guests to protect the listeners, and just want to know that you're with me.
I'm with you, buddy.
All right, man. So I don't want any bullshit just to create a story for the show. You know, the intent of our time together is to bring some raw and honest facts from your personal experiences, and that is to benefit the listeners for the travel future. You know, we want to know you. We want to know the Keith, DJ KBueno. We want the nitty gritty, whether that be stories that we almost can't even fathom to be true, to like even the embarrassing stories, like you have a hard time looking in the mirror and even accepting happened. You know, we want all real stories, no judgment, just sharing with the intent to inspire. Keith, are you in and willing to open your travel backpack and share with the world your story?
Let's do it. I'm in.
Awesome, man. Let's get into it, man. So I know you love to travel. I know a lot about it, but the world doesn't know about it. And I want them to know and hear, you know, from you and benefit from your tales. So like, I definitely have some questions to get the listeners, you know, their fill and their information that I've been promising. You know, I just want to get familiar with you. I want people to know who you are. How does that sound?
Let's get it. Yeah.
All right. So I know you live in California and you have lived outside the States, man. Share with us like that journey. Like, how did you start traveling? How did you start living overseas? Man, I don't even know that full story.
Right. So, you know, I kind of like always loved to travel, and you know, I can thank my parents for that, and my grandparents as well. Like, you know, we would take trips down to San Felipe in Mexico as a kid, and when I was in, I think, seventh grade, uh, my neighbor that was friends with my mom invited us to go to Jamaica with her.
Ooh.
So like my mom and my brother and myself went with her family, and she had kids our, you know, our age, our friends and stuff, like family. So we all went to Jamaica, and it was epic. Oh my God, we were there for about 10 days, I think. Um, and that's when I really got that first taste of like kind of jumping a flight and going to another place, right?
Yeah.
And
Young. That's awesome.
yeah, I was very fortunate on that one. And I just, you know, I realized like, oh, it's possible, right? It wasn't like this far off impossible dream. Like you can just do it. And from there, as I, you know, as I grew older, I, you know, we'd take trips down to Mexico and kind of, you know, I didn't take another kind of international trip until I went to Tokyo with the ex-girlfriend of mine. We
Yeah.
went, she had already been living there, and she's like, hey, you know, let's go check out Tokyo. So I was like, sure, why not? You know, let's do it. Um, and I spent about, I think it was like 4 months there, maybe. Um, kind of
Just DJing?
just DJing. Well,
Epic.
right. So no, I started there just DJing, and then I actually ended up bartending,
Okay.
which I had no idea.
Two skills that you can do anywhere in the world.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
you know, my idea was like, okay, well, I've worked in bars, like DJing, and I've helped serve, right? But like, I've never actually been a bartender, and you know, it was kind of like, well, how hard can it be, right?
Yeah.
You know, I like to drink. I can make a drink, and so I went to there's this place in Tokyo, and I'm sure some of your listeners probably know about it. It's called Roppongi, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like the bar zone that is like where all the expats and like knuckleheads and riffraff go to get trashed. Not the bomb on Roppongi. It was a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been down there. I know where you mean.
Yeah, right. But so you know, I needed to get some more money. I wanted to have an extra job, so I kind of just went. I started off at one end of Roppongi and was like, I'm just gonna go to every single bar and be like, hey, you know, do you guys need help? Right? Like I can do anything. So the first place, and at that point, mind you, I had a mohawk. Like, you know, I was like skateboarding a lot and you know, kind of stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so you know, as a white American guy, I have that, you know, I had that look, right? It's super popular, right?
Yeah. You were the punk kid that skated and
Right, right. So the first place I go into, they're like, you know, do you know how to bartend? And I'm like, yeah, sure, sure, whatever. And you know, and and the owner of the entire like franchise comes up and he's like, all right, make a shot for, there's like four people there. He's like, make a shot for us. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like, I kid you not, I didn't even know, this is how horrible it was. I didn't even know that the spout on the end of the bottle, like,
Oh.
has a counter, like if you put it upside down for 3 seconds or whatever, like that's a shot. I had no idea that was even a thing. I didn't even know. So like, I'm sitting there and I'm like pouring out into like into like the mixer. I'm just like, I don't know. I think I grabbed some like blue carousel and some random other crap and just threw it in there, right? And like shook it up and and I poured it and it didn't even fill all four shots. Like it was like almost a half a shot in each one, right? Like I didn't even count it right. I didn't know. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Saving
And
the company money already.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like, and the guy looks at me and he goes like he goes like, so what is that called, right? And I'm like, oh, it's called a blue pinky. And he's like, why is it called a blue pinky? I'm like, well, because it's blue and it's kind of like the size of a pinky. I don't know. It was so anyhow, I BS'd my way into, they offered me the job. They're like, all right, listen, like you got the look. We're gonna start you off outside handing out flyers, and then we'll bring you in. And I'm like, great, whatever. That
Oh,
seems
amazing! It shows that, like, look and your personality to sell. You can teach the rest, right?
pretty much.
You sold yourself on style and your way to talk through what you sold.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
exactly. And I had a good attitude, and so I started off flyering, and then within like a couple weeks, like I was just kind of like shadowing some people on the inside, and I learned how to make a few drinks, and then they actually moved me to Shibuya, and I went to the bar there, and it was really interesting. It was like a Nigerian bar,
Oh yeah, there's lots down there.
and yeah, in
Yeah.
Shibuya, so it was like kind of like this weird mixture of people, and then like I'm in, this like white kid in the back, like making drinks, and it was cool. It was a great time, and I had a lot of fun there. It was a great learning experience.
Now,
Uh,
for my memory, and not to cut you off, like, weren't you teaching English there too?
that was in Hong Kong.
That's right, in
Yeah,
Hong Kong.
yeah.
Man, and you're an English teacher. That's great. So wait, so how did you get from Tokyo to Hong Kong?
Right. So I came back from Tokyo, and and I at that I had the full on. I got bit. Right. I had the full on travel bug. Just bit
How
me.
old were you at this time?
That was God. I must have been 26, 7.
Okay.
Um, and so I came back and I started, working again and trying to save some money and you know, trying to figure out my next moves. And I ended up saving some cash. And I have a really good friend whose name's Jesse, and I knew him from high school. And he had been living in Hong Kong for a while, and I wanted to go backpacking. So I was going to take 3 or 4 months and go just backpack around Southeast Asia. Um, and Jesse's like, come through Hong Kong, like stop in. So that was my first stop, and I had brought with me literally I just had my backpack, and then I had a piece of carry, like a roller luggage. It was like carry on size, right?
Yeah.
In that, all I had was my DJ mixer and laptop and like Serato and some headphones.
Epic.
And so it was like my backpack was just
DJ
like
life.
some clothes, and like yeah, my actual luggage was just DJ stuff. And my goal was like I'm just gonna backpack and DJ wherever I can. Like
Yeah.
doesn't matter, hostel, gas station, I don't care. Like I'm in. And so my first stop was there, and Jesse and his wife Erica were like super, wonderful, great people. They invited me into their house, and they had a second bedroom, and they're like, come stay as long as you want. And I was thinking, okay, it might be like a week or two, and then pop off to the next spot. But like day two, going there, we were at a bar in this place called Stanley in Hong Kong. It's kind of a nicer zone. And there's these two ladies that kind of approached us. We're just having some drinks, and they were like, what are you guys up to? And I kind of explained like, I'm just DJing. I'm here to travel and DJ. And my good fortune, she happened to be like the owner of one of the coolest art galleries in Hong Kong. And
Awesome.
she's like, "No way, you're DJ." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I have an art opening coming up this weekend. Like, do you want to DJ it?" And of course, I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah. Let me, let's do it." And I played, and she loved it. Everybody loved it, and she offered me a gig, pretty much, a couple times a month, DJing art openings for her art galleries. And after that, I became the head AV kind of person for like setting up projectors and mics and all that stuff there.
You were the full Monty for that place.
I mean, pretty much. And needless to say, like it went from like, hey, Jesse, I'm going to stay at your house for like a couple weeks to, hey, I'm moving in and living with you for 3 months here. And then he's like, he was like, listen, I don't want to kick you out, but we're moving, and if you want to stay in Hong Kong, you might have to find your own place.
Dang.
And so I did.
Yeah.
I got a spot right down in Central, right down in Central. Cost an arm and a leg for a room the size of a couch.
Yeah. Same for me in Singapore. I know what that's like.
Oh my good. Yeah, and yeah, man, I started DJing there, and I just ended up loving it. I freaking love Hong Kong. It's such
it's an awesome city.
So yeah, I stayed, and everybody there was just really, really kind of helpful, and like everyone. I mean, it seemed to me that a lot of people were helping each other achieve their goals. Now, it might be because they also want to get a part of that goal or something, but everything I kind of wanted to do there was really kind of open, and people were really friendly. And it just felt like a really good fit. So I just ended up living there for a year.
Man, so you just picked up twice, left, and stayed in another country where, I mean, what, you really knew one person?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. And it just worked out.
It did.
Why did you end up leaving Hong Kong?
Yeah, right. So I was, like you said, I was teaching at that point, because I was DJing a bunch, and I had a bunch of free time. I was just DJing on the weekends, and I was like, I should be doing something else with my time. I want to make some more cash and kind of experience some new things. So I opted to do some. Actually, I was going to do some tutoring, and I kind of got like offered a teaching job. Again, never have taught before, no credentials, just, being a native English speaker was kind of my,
And it was probably the Mohawk that told him on selling English.
Yeah, so like this guy knows what's going on. No, at that point, I didn't have a Mohawk at that time, but I did have, my hair was dyed. I think I had blue hair. Not completely, but like blue streaks here.
Yeah, okay.
But okay, so mind you, it was for like preschool. It wasn't like real.
You're the coolest teacher ever.
It wasn't like I was teaching like some really difficult.
Yeah, fair enough. Don't put the square in the star.
Yeah, it was like the wheels. They're like, do you know the wheels on the bus? I'm like, yeah, they go round and round. They're like, exactly, perfect. You're in. So there's a bunch of that, and so why I left, right? I was going to come back to the States because I was actually really good at teaching these kids. Like I can connect with kids really well. I guess it's because I'm just a big kid myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
But these, the kids and their nannies and their families really loved me, and it was a good fit for me there. And so they actually wanted me to. They're going to open a new school. And they wanted me to kind of be the head teacher and start making lesson plans and going that way.
Wow.
Yeah, and they offered me a salary, and they're going to get me a visa for it. And
dude,
so I went back home to kind of tie up my affairs because I wasn't planning on moving to Hong Kong for a year to go travel for a little bit. So I went back home, and there were some problems with the school and me teaching. Because there was another, oddly enough, it was like a franchise school, and there's another school on that franchise that wanted to poach me, and they offered me a gig, and I turned them down because I was like, look, I'm loyal to this school. Like they offered me, like I'm a loyal person. I'm not gonna just shaft this other school and go to you guys, and that kind of upset them. So what they did is they ratted me out to the officials, telling the school that I was teaching without a visa. And so when I was back home in the States, getting everything kind of put into storages and, getting my life lined up here to move over there, I got a call from the school, and they're like, listen, we have some issues here. There's been some officials showing up at school looking for you. So we don't know that we can offer you your position anymore, and we can't get you a visa right now. So we're just gonna, like hold off for a little bit. Which kind of broke my heart because I was really looking forward to kind of moving back to Hong Kong, and I've got a lot of friends there that are really awesome. I wanted to go hang out and see them some more, and so I ended up staying home at that point and then working again here.
So what year was that? Well, I mean, roughly, like, because I'm trying to think from when we met.
I want to say that was 2010.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh, so
11.
3 years before we met. Two years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like twice you just got up and left and found yourself in cities and just was able to just make it happen by just being there and being open to the scenarios.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ah, it's epic.
That's it. I mean, you just have to really be open, and you have to be kind of not afraid to just try something, like
Yeah.
if I would have been like, oh, there's no way I could teach. I've never taught before. I don't know. Like then I wouldn't have gotten anything. I would have just been, kind of just stuck there. If I would have been like, there's no way, I don't know how to bartend. I'm not gonna go try. Then I wouldn't have gotten that job, and learned how to
Yeah.
bartend.
Just putting yourself out there, right? I mean, you don't know if you don't try.
Yeah, I mean,
The worst thing is you cannot try, and that's the biggest risk is never finding out if you could have.
yeah, yeah. If I would have looked back and been like, I wish I would have tried that. And then, like, I'm not gonna move to Tokyo again and try to bartend again. Like that's, you got to do it strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah. So you taught kindergartners and you DJ'd. So like, what type of music do you play? Like, what's your preference?
Well, it changes here and there. At that time, I was really into drum and bass.
Hmm.
So I was actually DJing with a really great crew in Hong Kong called Heavy. And they put on some shows, and I got some really epic sets out there with just the crowd. Everybody loved it, and like everyone was just really friendly and kind. And so yeah, I was into drum and bass while I was in Hong Kong, really heavily. And but I've always loved all kinds of music. Now I play a little bit more like funk and like disco and remixes and edits and kind
Yeah.
of some like heavier bass.
I will say one thing that I've always appreciated about your music is like you have great song selection. Like your song selection is so on point. Like that's one thing I've always admired about your DJing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So like, do you have a list of the countries you've DJed in the world? Like which places and like which one's been your favorite?
Oh God,
You have
favorite's
one.
hard.
Yeah, I know.
Well, like there's been Thailand, Bali, Hong Kong, Tokyo, obviously all over America. Well, I guess that's not obvious, but I have DJed all over America. That's another story there. And then Europe. I mean, we DJed in Europe at some really fun spots.
Yeah, that was fun.
We also had a couple train wreck spots too. Or at least one in particular in Marseille. I mean, um, my favorite. I mean, I gotta say Hong Kong, man. I just
Yeah, it's
really
a cool
loved the
spot.
crowd there, and people were just about the music. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I was
like
gonna say, what country do you think has the best music scene and like in your preference?
I mean, it's hard to say scene because it's like I really like certain types of music, but I
Hmm.
don't necessarily like the scene that comes with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I gotta say, man, like drum and bass has always had such a great kind of community.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the diehards. Like because I see it as like sometimes people like just hate drum and bass. They're like, "No, my God, that's so noisy and horrible. I can't stand it." Um, and then some people are like, "Oh my God, it's so uplifting and energetic, and
Right.
like, it's
It's how your
great."
perspective, right?
Yeah, right. So, and I find like the diehard drum and bass heads are like some of the strongest fans and like some of the strongest communities that there are.
Yeah, so I mean, I just love that you always bring your DJ gear. It's like a bartender always just bringing his bottle opener. It's like you always bring that because you never know.
Yeah,
You never know.
and
Um,
it
Go
goes
ahead.
back to just being open.
Yeah, to whatever life's gonna bring you.
Yeah, like someone's like, "Hey, you want to DJ, this circus?" Like, sure, whatever, let's do it. Like, and if I didn't have my equipment, I wouldn't have gotten that gig in Hong Kong. So, and big up to technology for making it easier to, schlep this stuff around. Like if I had to carry crates of records and like an old mixer and like a turntable, that would have been impossible.
Yeah,
But
no kidding.
Serato made a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. Man, awesome intro into like just who you are and your little life journey. But I definitely have some questions that I want to ask to dig deeper into your backpack. And there's a very specific reason I had you on as my first guest. And that is so we can finally share our travel story to the world. Personally, I think it's insanely unique and feel a lot of people may be shocked at even hearing some of this story. But man, what an epic journey. And since then in 2013 when we travel, like I haven't really shared the story a lot. I mean, here and there with close friends. But man, I'm ready to hear your side of the story, and I really want to share it with everyone. So yeah, I want to get into our story real quick and just share with, before I get into these questions, and just share with everyone how we know each other and how this whole story unfolded.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh my God. It's a great tale.
It is a pretty epic tale. And like, I mean, just from my perspective, before I let Key share, it's, the plan had been I had never even planned to travel in 2013. I had traveled my first time in 2007, again in 2008 with my father. And since then I'd like wanted to, I for some reason I had the bug, like just like you did, Keith, and I wanted to get out. I wanted to live outside the country. I'd realized there was so much more to learn and experience outside of this country. And, a good friend of mine or a good friend of ours actually had worked with you, right? Like he had worked with you on some business, and he had came back from working with you, and I had lived with him for like a year and a half, and he's like, I'm leaving to go travel Europe, and I'm just buying a one-way ticket. And I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. And I was still working at the time, had a job in Las Vegas. I was, bar manager and DJing at this club. And then I decided, you know what, like, would you mind if I came with you? And he's like, of course not. He was the first person I ever traveled with in 2007 to Europe. And he's like, of course not. And I think it was like a week later, this was around like February, a week later, he's like, hey, do you mind if, my buddy Keith comes? Which, at that time, I didn't know who you were. I had never seen you, never met you, never saw a photo, didn't even know your Facebook. But I was like, if our buddy knows him, man, he must be a good guy. So I remember like all three of us had bought in one-way tickets and some one-way tickets to Europe. And me and our buddy were going to leave from Las Vegas on May 13th. I remember this exactly. And we were going to land and you were going to leave from where? LA, right?
Yeah, LA or San Francisco. It might have been, it probably was LA at that point.
Yeah. And somehow both our flights were landing, I think it was like 11 minutes from each other. And, man, 2 weeks before this was supposed to take off, I had already quit my job. I'd already put all my stuff in storage. I had sorted out like where my car was going to be. I had nothing, and something happened with our buddy that he couldn't come. He canceled the whole trip. And I remember him telling me this, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And I was like, I have nothing. He's like, yeah, like, I don't know what you want to do, but maybe you want to talk to Keith. And I'm like, I don't even know him. And I just remember that time I call you. I don't even, no idea who you are. I'm like, hey, Keith, this is, Shay. It's, we have a mutual friend, and, he can't go. And I remember you were like, what?
Yeah,
I mean, do you remember that phone call?
Yeah, no, I do. It was a hard phone call to hear, and I thought it was a joke. You're like, he's not gonna go. I'm like, yeah, right. Come on. And yeah, unfortunately, he couldn't make it. That doesn't mean it won't happen again. It means we're gonna, we will have that journey, the three of us.
For sure. I just remember having to call you, and you were like, we both kind of kept just doing this. And I remember like, well, what do you want to do? And you had said the same thing in the same situation I was. You're like, I had sold my truck. I already sold my bed. I put everything in storage. You're like, I have nothing. And I was like, me either. And we just were like, at this point, we didn't even know. I, again, had never seen your Facebook. I didn't know who you were. And this is the first conversation I'd ever had with you. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, I guess I'll see you in Paris in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was literally it. And I remember,
oh my gosh,
I don't know if we talked about it, but I definitely talked with somebody, and I was like, they're like, well, what happens if you go there and you don't like the guy? And I'm like, well, then, we just part ways, I guess, and I backpack by myself. I don't know. And I think we talked about that, and we're like, hey, listen, if it's not a fit, then it's not a fit. We'll just walk away, and things will. But I mean, I think it's evident that it was a good
yeah, it was a great fit. I just remember landing, and I'm walking around the airport looking around, and I had to like get on the Wi-Fi, and I'm like looking for your Facebook, and I'm like, dude with green highlights. So like, okay, your blue hair makes sense now. I'm like, okay, where's the guy with the green hair? Which I don't think it was green then, actually.
I think it was like fading from blue to like.
And I remember it was like, there he is. I walk up and you're like, Mike? And I'm like, Keith?
Yeah.
Hey. And then it was just like, I mean, I guess we should get after it.
Yeah, yeah, it's like okay. It was a really interesting way to meet somebody, especially somebody that you're going to share such an intimate experience with, traveling and going into the unknown together, without even knowing who you were, right?
No plan, no agenda, one-way tickets, like, and with someone. Like, we were getting to know each other at the money exchange.
I think the only plans we had were like we're gonna go to a couple of like distilleries and breweries, and that
Yeah.
everything else was like, let's just see what comes up.
Yeah, no kidding. And then, do you remember the train ride right into Paris? The first thing that we saw right when we landed?
Yeah, dude, that girl, she got her phone stolen, right?
She had her whole purse, remember?
Was it her purse? Yeah, like she was just sitting there, and the guy just came up and just snatched it and jumped off the train right before the doors closed.
That was like our first thing we saw.
Yeah, poor girl. Yeah, that definitely was a kind of warning, right? Like, hey, listen, keep your stuff tucked.
First hour was quite interesting.
There's a lot to ingest.
Man, how many? What did we do? Like, I think it was 12 to 15 countries we hit.
Oh my gosh, like all of them.
Yeah, we did a lot. It was like 30 something cities in 4 months. Yeah, I mean, we went from Paris. Paris was pretty epic. But I mean, I think, what was your favorite story in Paris?
I mean, going to the Louvre was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny.
How we didn't get kicked out, I don't know.
Yeah, we made our whole trip about funny photos and not taking life too seriously. Like, all our stuff was jokes.
Yeah, and you know what it is like, since we kind of hit it off instantly, there was kind of like that like buzz of excitement and like, oh dude, I got a new friend, like let's go act the fool and have fun. And
Yeah.
we sure as hell did that in the Louvre. I don't know if you're going to be able to post any pictures from there, but I mean, I really love the Louvre in Paris. Like one of the coolest cultural things that I loved about Paris was when we were on, I think we were on a little like metro or something, and there was like this beautiful girl kind of sitting there, and she had this big purse, and we're like, going
Oh
somewhere.
my God, I remember this.
And she just pulls out this crazy baguette out of her purse and just starts munching on it, like out of nowhere, just like taking nibbles out of a straight up baguette with just going for it. And I'm like,
Yeah, a huge piece of baguette comes like a foot long, comes halting out of this purse, and she just is crushing it on the train. I mean, we were like, oh, remember how we were on a budget. So we ate baguettes like every day. I remember the roof of my mouth was so raw and like bloody that we finally found out we had to eat the baguette. Here's the little tips and tricks. If you're in Paris and like you're eating on a budget and eating baguettes every day, is flip the baguette upside down and you eat the bottom part on the top of your mouth.
that's a little hack right there. And you got to get it when it's fresh. An old baguette is no good.
Yeah, God, that was terrible. One of my other favorite stories of France was when we got to Cognac.
Oh my God, Cognac was so beautiful.
Just remember like the house we were in.
Yeah.
How funny was that?
Oh, I mean, that was such a great experience. And talk about, I mean, that was Airbnb, right? Like,
Yeah, Airbnb.
Airbnb this house, and this family just took us in like we were their own. And the brothers were just super awesome, great people. I believe it was one of them's birthday.
Yeah, it was it was like the daughter's birthday or something, and we'd gotten there, and their farm was surrounded by Remy Martin fields for the grapes. Remember, they didn't speak any English, and we were supposed to bring our own food, and we had nothing.
Yeah, we dropped the ball on that one.
Zero food. Oh man,
they were so like, I mean, their hospitality was just
super accommodating. Yeah,
so nice. I mean, Pops even broke out his own
Pinot.
his own homemade,
Yeah.
and I mean, and that's like the visuals of that place are just stunning. It's so stunning seeing all like the wine, the vineyards, the history there. God, that was a really memorable time.
Yeah, that one was good. Like, if you could pick one of your favorite spots that we hit, what do you think that was? God, it's so hard to say.
Well, it's hard. Okay, so like there was a tasting room, and I forget which one it was, but it was they gave us like, some different cognacs to try, and they paired them with different things,
That
like
was Remy Martin.
salmon or something, and
Yeah,
yeah, so that
it
to
was
me was
Remy.
kind of, a memorable time, because I've never really had that opportunity before.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was epic. I remember going to there. Hennessy was cool. Green Chartreuse was still my favorite.
oh yeah.
Green Chartreuse. Remember when we got off the phone or off the train and we got down below the train and I'd realized that my phone was gone and I ran it back up to the train. It was gone already. So there goes my phone. Like 2 weeks in, lost my phone, iPhone
Classic.
gone.
Classic
Adios.
blunder.
Yeah, super blunder.
I do say that, there's just something that I really love about being on like a train, um, as opposed to like flying or driving,
Mm,
because it's like you're still kind of moving and you get to walk around. There's like more space to, kind of stretch your legs.
yeah, a lot more.
And on that train in particular, they have a really kind of nice dining cart that I think we were hanging out in, just like
Hmm.
grabbing like a beer and just like sitting there and watching as the scenery goes by. It's just one of my favorite things.
Yeah. You know what? This, I have to share this. This is so funny. So we were leaving Amsterdam and we were headed for Cologne, Germany. And we decided finally we were going to get train passes.
Mm.
And we go in to buy, because there's different types of train pass that you can get on the Eurorail. And you can buy like one-way tickets, you can buy like 10-day passes, or you can buy like unlimited. I think it's something like that. Um, and or like a month pass. And so you can ride as much as you want. So we go in to buy it, and there's like, okay, me and Keith both have like a little bit of a beard, and we go to the station to buy the tickets, and they say that if you have a student ID, if you're a student, you can get a discount. So Keith goes before me, and he tells the lady, "Oh yeah, I'm a student." She doesn't ask for ID; she just gives them the discount. I get up to the window. I also say I'm a student, and she says, "I don't believe you. Do you have ID?"
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. Unbelievable. So Keith gets away with a cheaper discount, which wasn't much, but I mean, I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks
It was
or
20,
euro.
yeah, euro.
Yeah. And then, so another little life hack you can try. So me and Keith got the 10-day passes. So what this meant was, as soon as you step onto the train, you basically have a 24-hour window to use the train as much as you want. Like, you could go from, you know, Latvia all the way to Romania. Once you step on the train, you can stay on that as much as you want for 24 hours practically. You can go as many countries as you want, get on and off as much as you want within 24 hours once you step on. So we take our first train ride with our tickets, and we realized that like the train tickets broke down into $60 each, 60 euro each. And so if a plane ticket was more than 60 euro, we would take the train. If the plane ticket was less, we would take the plane. So we would always try and like save money that way. Our first train ride, we get on the train and the ticket guy comes down and he asks us for our tickets. And we hand him our tickets, and we had no idea how to use them. So we just hand him the tickets. And he kind of like gets angry at us. Remember, like he was angry that we hadn't
Yeah.
written in them yet. Like, you're supposed to write the date and I think where you're going,
Right.
because there's 10 days. And we also didn't have a pen. So he was more irritated with us. So he hands us his pen. He hands us our tickets back, and he goes, "Write," like, I don't know what he says. He tells us to write in it. So
Yeah.
we just kind of look at each other. And we both like think, what if we don't write in it? And
Yeah.
so we didn't write in it, and he
Yeah.
never came back. And so we practically got a free train ride.
Oh my gosh, we did that a number of times, didn't we?
A number of times we tried this. So, I mean, you can try. It's always worth a try. If you don't try, you never know. We had 10 days worth of passes. We rode the train 16 times, and I believe we still have 2 or 3 rides still left on our tickets. That
After,
means over 6 times they didn't ask for the tickets.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
never rode on them. So another little train hack for the Eurorail is like, just wait for the guys to come and like tell you to ride in it, and sometimes they just walk past you.
But if I remember correctly, there was an instance where we tried to, kind of cheat the system and we got caught. I believe we were in Berlin again, um, and if you recall, we were like, I don't know, I think we were trying to jump on a train without a ticket or something, and they
It
caught
was,
us,
and we got fined.
And we got fined extra money.
Yeah, it was the local tickets. You're right. We were in Berlin. We were in the main train station. We were going to ride into town. And I think the train was there. And we're like, do we buy tickets or get on the train now? And we're just like, let's just get on the train. Packed full of people. And sure enough, ticket warden came through. It was a local train. You didn't have to use the Euro, so it was all domestic. And we didn't have a ticket. And I think I don't remember how much we got fined, but we definitely got hit with the fine.
Say it was like 60 euro or something.
Man, that was a train ticket that we should have
We
paid.
had to go to the ATM to like followed us to the ATM, you know?
Yes.
Run away, and it was just like embarrassing. They like kind of paraded us through
Oh.
the. So yes, definitely try, but be prepared for the consequences.
Yeah. Let the plus or minuses weigh out for you.
And also, I know that that's probably bad cultural etiquette as well. Just being a stupid American, be like, oh yeah, let's just get all this shit for free.
Yeah, that was dumb.
But,
I will say, that we did have that one benefit. The Eurorail, having that 24-hour window is an amazing thing, because I remember one day, I forget where we were going, but we had nowhere to sleep, and our train wasn't for like another 10 hours. We had nowhere, or something, maybe it was 6 or 8. We had nowhere to sleep. So what we did is we got on it. We looked up the trains times. We got on a train that went 1 hour one way to a city, slept an hour on the train. We got off. We wandered around for 2 hours. We checked the train when it came back, had a lunch, got back on the train, 2 hours, another hour back, took another nap. And then it was only like another 30, or like another hour or so till our other train. Like that was, and then we got on another train for a long distance. And that was all only one ticket. You didn't have to pay 3 times.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, we got really lucky with that deal, and I don't know if they're still doing it. I hope they are, but that saved us a ton of money. We traveled extensively.
Yeah.
A lot of, like you said, a lot of those trips were free. A lot of those trips didn't even, get ticked off on our thing.
Yeah. So I mean, like if people that live in a country with trains like that, like Europe, man, Japan, so amazing to have that access.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that kind of infrastructure is epic.
Yeah. So for people that fly a lot, if you're so used to flying, if your country's big, like especially like the States, but once you get into a country, you can take the train. It's so much better.
Yeah, trains are where it's at.
So good. What was like one of your favorite memories of that trip?
Oh God. So you know what I mean. One of my favorite things is just the banter that we had and the little like inside jokes that we would come up with, and
Yeah.
last throughout the trip. That was a lot of fun. I mean, there's so many great stories, like Belgium and like that fight that like we got into.
Oh, dude, that could have been so much worse than we expected. Now, mind you, we didn't go out picking the fight. It was late night. It was like 12 or 1. We were sitting down with like these random strangers, I think having chocolate and a beer, and our hostel mates. And these like hooligans came running through this big area. And all of a sudden I saw this dude shove a girl really hard in the back. And that's what set it off. Like I came in to like help her. And then it was like chaos.
Well, no, that kid that we were with, and his mind slips me right now. Remember because it was almost like a scene out of like Big Trouble in Little China or something, where there's like one gang coming out of one alleyway and this other gang coming out of another alleyway, and like there's this girl who's like stop, and like she gets shoved, and then the one kid that we were with like kind of went up first, and then they clocked him, like they just cold clocked him, and then we all jumped in. And that was just such a funny situation.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't suggest like fighting in another country, because God forbid, who knows what would happen. But yeah, we got out of it, thank goodness. And come to find out that the guy that pushed her was her brother.
Yeah. We should have just been
minded our business.
But we come to save the day, and thankfully nobody got really seriously injured. It was actually a really kind of minimal fight in my experience.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think at the end the guy was trying to whip you with his like windbreaker.
Yeah, it was so funny.
It was just like, so I mean that was just one of the many experiences. Going to Bamberg was super epic. Going to the Schlenkerla brewery there was that was definitely a top experience in my book. I mean Gmunden, like going out there, yeah, man, and like seeing everybody there and seeing your fam there, and like
so awesome that Chris had lived there for 12 years when we got there. So it was like
And I think that was for me a really kind of necessary kind of moment where we like got back to familiarity, and like we were like I felt like less of a tourist
Mm,
because
yeah.
we were with Chris, and he introduced us to the whole team and everybody there, and um, and meeting the Franks, and it's just it was a cool kind of like mellow, like, okay, we're chilling, like it's not like, okay, we're on on the tourist track and nobody knows us, and we're kind of have to watch our back or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
great.
great. I mean, huge shout out to Chris, my cousin Chris, and yeah, the Franks, the Gamundan Swans basketball team, for taking care of us while we were there. That was an epic time. And if like just a little piece of advice, I guess, for people, if you're looking at long term travel, for us, that was like having a home base for a while, like stopping for 2 weeks and having no travel plans and just settling down, like regrouping, kind of getting a little game plan together, recatching your breath. That was super crucial, I think, for us. That like extended our longevity.
Hmm. Yeah, that was it. That's what I'm saying. Like just having that like kind of moment of relaxation and not stressing about the next place or like hostels or none of that. I think that was just that was a good recharge.
Yeah. What, speaking of that, since you just brought up hostels, like what is your perspective on like hotels versus Airbnb versus hostels, like sleeping on a couch, sleeping on a
Right.
park bench?
So, I mean, in my experience, it really kind of depends on like what you're after, right? So, like, if you're, like a younger in your 20s and you're like single and you want to go party and find some chicks or whatever, then, there's these like party hostels where people are just raging, like just 24/7, and it's almost like a giant frat house or something. I personally don't want to live that kind of life, especially now as I'm older, but like, I could see there's obviously really popular with kids. And every now and again, it's fun to dip your toes into that filth. But for the most part, I
Yes.
really loved the Airbnbs we got. I mean, you get more from the hosts. They kind of like they'll leave you like a bottle of wine and some like, oh, here's some tickets to this place, or some tips on where to go. It's a lot more comfortable, a little bit more safe. Um, that being said, there are some hostels that we visited that were just so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, there was Earthers in Croatia was mind-blowingly awesome. That spot we went to in Barcelona where we just played ping pong for like hours.
Yeah, that place was awesome too. Barcelona's epic.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
more the hostel type too, but I like you said, it depends on who you are, who you're with, and like your travel agenda. But for me, long-term travel, hostels are the best. And if you've never stayed at a hostel and like you have some fear about it, I mean, drop that, please. Whatever you've heard, drop it, because it's actually you. I think, Keith, we've met the best people, longevity of friends.
Mhm.
You connect on a deeper level. You learn more things about where you should be going and where to go, not just in the city, but other countries, other cities. You start to learn so much more that you've never even researched on your own. It is 100% must.
It is. It is. And like I was saying, there's some hostels that are not party hostels that are like super, it's more of like a good backpacking community. And those ones are really just like they're just gold,
Yeah.
Not to say the party hostels aren't, you're gonna meet a lot of people there too. I just,
Yeah, for sure.
it gets loud. Yeah, I mean, you get to meet new people whenever you go to a hostel, and that's where we met a lot of really awesome people and traveled about with them.
Yeah, it was epic. What would you feel like? Okay, it can be this trip or any of your trips. Like, what was like one of your biggest disasters or like embarrassing moments that you've experienced?
Oh my God, so many.
Because I know I have a couple.
I mean, from the ones that I can remember, uh, because I'm sure there's been some that I don't remember. But the one that sticks out obviously is there's photographic evidence of my fail, um, because that was going into Berlin. And for those who don't know, I've never actually physically seen Michael O'Shea. He's quite a fit character. He takes care of himself and he works out. And I'm quite the opposite. Uh, needless to say, I can handle my own. But so we started doing push-ups, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do 100 push-ups a day." Mind you, at this point, I've maybe done 10 push-ups in the last 10 months. So I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And I don't even know if I made it to 100, but I did as many push-ups as my noodle arms could take. Uh, then we go to we're in Berlin, right? So we go to the gate there. What is that gate called? Gosh, you have to edit that one. I don't know, but so so yeah, we go to the the famous gate there, and I was doing this thing where it was like I tried to do, or we were doing this thing where it was like, you do like a handstand in front of, famous places, right? And take a picture. And I went to go do a handstand, and my arms just gave out. Like it was just like I didn't have any muscle left, right? And there's all these people, tourists taking pictures, and like old ladies like hanging out, like, and I just biff it, and it just looked so miserable. I nearly fell directly right on my face
That was
in front
pretty
of
epic.
everybody. That was pretty embarrassing.
I'm glad that we caught it perfectly on camera too,
Oh
like
yeah.
the crumbling of yourself.
I crumbled. I
Yeah,
like
that was pretty
my
good.
arms. They were just like, no, I'm not having it. That was pretty embarrassing. It was, minimally kind of impactful. Like I didn't really damage anything, and I didn't really lose anything, or I didn't, get anything. Um, but I lost a lot of pride for that
Yeah,
moment.
that was pretty epic.
Um, but the best part is there's that picture, and I cherish that picture.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull that up. I have to put that on the website when we launch this podcast.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was pretty great. Like, what from all the places that we've been? I mean, from our trip, where would you say is a must go, a must see, must experience for like the listeners, like for people to put on the map?
Oh God. In Europe,
Yeah,
um, I mean, if you've never been, you're gonna want to obviously see Paris. You're gonna want to see Berlin. You're gonna want to see some of the well-known spots. Now, as far as like kind of like cutties, like spots that I loved, Bamberg to me. I mean, I've been to Bamberg a few different times after that trip, um, because I just really love that little town. I mean, it didn't get destroyed in any of the wars. So it has this really old architecture, and there's some of the world's best breweries there, which kind of hedges its bets for me. Um, and just like the vibe there, and like just the way it looks and the feeling there, it's like you get transported back in time, right? So to me, and it's not blown out, like it's not like a crazy touristic kind of spot. Um, so definitely Bamberg. Um, Croatia blew my mind. I had no idea that it
Croatia.
was. I
For
didn't
that
know it was
same
that.
for me. Croatia was like the one that we don't ever get taught about in school, and that was blew my
Yeah,
mind. That country,
yeah, yeah. I didn't. I had no idea. So going there and just being just kind of like it's just paradise almost, right? And
beautiful. The
going to
water, the islands, just
the whole jumping on boats and going to different islands. I mean, that was a really great time. Let's see, Romania was really cool. Really beautiful there. Um, there's oh man, Estonia too. I really enjoyed
yeah.
it.
Estonia was epic. I would
Shout
have
out to
never
Greg.
thought.
Everybody
Oh,
up in Estonia,
beautiful.
man. That was a fun time. That was a perfect little experience there too.
Yeah, that was fun. Some good stories there.
But like I think it's hard. So the way I see it, it's like everybody's different. Everyone's going to be searching something different. And if you just go with an open mind to some place like Europe that's huge and has so connected and you can go anywhere, you just kind of make your own experience and you find your own best place, right? So like I can be like, yeah, go to Bamberg, and you might go and be like, well, I kind of wanted, more of this. So I think to find your best experience is just being open to
Mm.
kind of feeling the flow, and kind of saying yes. Like, do you want to go here? You might meet somebody at a hostel and they're like, hey, we're going here, in a couple days. You want to go with us? And maybe just try saying yes. It could turn into a huge disaster. It could be the most epic time of your life, but I guarantee you it'll be something that you remember.
Yeah, the memories are. I mean, just being open to whatever could happen, and not just like I guess like for me when we traveled that trip was not being who we were back home and like letting those things go, letting those boundaries of who we thought we were supposed to be, and just being totally with whatever, leaf in the wind.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely.
What I really liked about, and since you lived in Asia too, like the coolest thing, and this is probably more so for like the American listeners, is like what's so amazing about Europe and Asia is that everything, all the countries are so different. You know, like in America, it's great, it's huge. There's so much culture to see and so many different things in this country, which is amazing. The way I always explain it is like if I take a flight from, San Diego, California, all the way to the tip of Maine, it's probably a 6 to 7 hour flight. But everything beneath that flight is going to be, we were taught the same history, kind of the same culture. We all speak the same for the most part, same food. But
Mhm,
in Europe and Asia, you take a flight 2 hours in any direction, and everything changes from language to food to culture to history.
mhm,
All of it is completely different.
mhm. Yeah, it's
And it's quite amazing to have that experience, you know?
I mean, it's America's a huge country, right? And as United States, we have a lot of similarities. But if you go down to like Louisiana, you're gonna get a little bit of a different vibe than if you're up in Seattle. But that being said, there is a bigger contrast if you obviously in Europe and in Asia for sure. Um, Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you could pick, now this is going to help me out for another question later. Like, if you could pick one place, or, out of everywhere you've been, they all have their own unique charm, their own uniqueness. What was like the top of your bucket list that have you been there? Like, that, or have you not yet?
Um, I haven't been there yet.
What is it?
Cuba.
Cuba. Yeah. Aren't you Cuban?
I'm half Cuban. My mom is from Cuba. She fled when her family fled when Fidel Castro came into power,
Yeah.
and that's just one place I've always wanted to go, and I haven't been. I haven't. I don't know. Like it's. I've been to Jamaica. That's right there. I've been to Miami a bunch. That's right there. But I just haven't. I haven't touched those soils yet. I'm going to. That's a but I haven't done it yet, and I know that's one of the places that I'm just gonna fall in love with because it's my culture, it's my family.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. I would love to hit like the Caribbean area and hit all those
Well,
countries.
let's do it, man. Let's just charter a boat and we'll just go jump to from island to island. How about that?
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Keith, I want to get into what's in your backpack, and I got a little section that I
Mhm.
like to call "What is in your travel back? What is your travel backpack ninja essentials?"
Essentials. Yes.
Yes, so what are so I'm just going to rapid fire some of these questions. I want to hear what you got, and just yeah, I want to further understand how you travel so people can better themselves when they travel in different places. So, what are some of the most important essential items for you when traveling to always pack those must-haves?
Yeah. So there's some definite must-haves, and being a music lover and a DJ, having some sort of music is essential to me, right? Whether it be on your phone, but you got to have some headphones, and maybe if you do a laptop or whatever, that's an essential. Some because having kind of like a theme song or soundtrack to
Yeah,
something good, right?
yeah,
There's that. A good durable camera. I'd prefer smaller, not too showy. Um, I think I had like an Olympus. Oh, I'm sorry, I got that pop. I had like an Olympus, kind of all weather and like indestructible camera that I can just
yeah.
slam around. That to me was really nice because I didn't have to worry about it getting stolen or getting damaged. And it still took pretty decent pictures. Um, at this time, probably having some sort of sanitizers. This is probably a good idea. But that's another thing is you gotta make sure you keep your hands clean when you do travel because you don't want to be sick during your travels. That's
Yeah, for
not.
sure.
So other essentials is of course you gotta have. Um, I mean, one thing that I love that I use on my daily, um, is my Leatherman, and you can't really travel with it because it has a knife on it.
Yeah.
So if you just get one that doesn't have a knife, I think that comes in handy quite often that most people kind of don't think about.
What is a Leatherman, just in case like some people
Yeah, it's a
don't know?
multi-tool.
Yeah.
So, it has it's got all your different types of screwdrivers and maybe like pliers on it and like bottle opener and you know, if you can find, they make them now that have like spoons and forks on them. Um, So if you can just, do something like that that's TSA approved, of course, because you don't want them stealing your crap like they usually love to do.
Yeah.
No offense, TSA, but you guys are just taking way too many of my little gadgets. Uh, you know, and I mean, one of the most important things is an open mind. Like you can throw that in your backpack, double pack that. Because I mean, everything else you can kind of get, right? Like if you like, oh crap, I forgot extra socks. Like no matter where you go, if you can't buy socks, that means nobody's wearing socks, and you shouldn't be wearing socks. Like local municipality is going to have what you need when it comes to clothing. I do, I do love me a good hoodie. Um, kind of get that comfort in there from
Yep.
home. Good pair of shoes. Gonna be walking a lot, so get something comfortable.
Yeah.
That was
Are you a sneakers or boots kind of guy?
I do sneakers.
Brand of choice?
Uh, you know, that's tough because when I don't know if you remember when we first started out, I think I had like a ratty pair of Vans that I showed up in,
Yeah.
and it was like raining a bunch. It was just like, and the Vans just couldn't make it, right? So I had to remember we went shopping, and I had to go buy some random like European style shoes.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name of the company that was the brand. It was just but comfortable walking sneaker, kind of like they're like Saucony kind of,
Yeah.
um like that kind of thing. So it's comfortable. Um, it's really, I think what's important with what's in your backpack, I think it's probably what's not in your backpack. Like
Usually that is what happens.
keep shit out of your backpack. Try to pack as least as much as possible because you don't want to be that guy or girl out there with like hella heavy luggage, awkward because you're gonna fit on tight buses and like trains, and there's not a lot of space. And people that are just living their normal lives day to day, going to work, don't want to be crammed next to like this giant backpack full of unnecessary shit. Um, so and save your energy in your back, like so the least you pack, and I'm sure you hear that if you're into traveling. I'm sure you've probably heard that before. The least you pack, the better. But some of the essentials, um, definitely like a nice little beat up camera.
Yeah. So you have Olympus. What type of phone type do you have? iPhone, Android?
I do iPhone.
Okay.
Just 'cause
Backpack brand?
yeah, man. So Patagonia.
Patagonia.
I am a complete Patagonia slut. I admit it. No shame, no shame. They just have good quality products, and it's a lifetime warranty. And I've never had any issues with anything from them. Like even like returning stuff and getting stuff repaired, and just quality. It's in my opinion, it's a pretty good buy. It's expensive,
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, but it's long term. You're looking at the investment.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you a hat? Yes or no?
Um, Well, it's hard to say because I don't really look good in hats.
So that's a no.
And my hair is usually some sort of crazy shit. So
Yeah.
I don't think I bring a hat. But some people rock hats well, and I think that's useful. So
Sunglasses? Yes or no?
absolutely, 100%.
Brand?
Ray-Ban.
Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
So you said music. What's the genre of choice that you like to listen to while traveling?
Well, it changes. Like I could be. I listen to everything. I'm not saying I'd rock out to Nickelback or anything, but like I'll be, I'll be on like Coldplay or something will pop on, and I'll be like, oh, that's kind of nice right now. Um, I know for a fact that when we were out there on our adventure, Daft Punk had come out with its last
Yeah,
album. It came out with that
we
last
were
album.
rocking that the whole time.
That was just like, oh man, that was great. So to have that as like the soundtrack of that summer was pretty epic. But yeah, usually, whatever you like, if you get down with some Bach and Beethoven, pop that in.
Look it up.
Yeah.
What are your top three to five apps that you use while traveling?
Um, Obviously some sort of Airbnb. It's a good one. I think like and I hate like calling them out by name because I don't necessarily want to endorse a specific brand because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like something like a booking.com, obviously Skyscanner was super impact. That was a great app. Recently I've been turned on to this app that I really like. It's called Overlander.
What is that?
Um, it's kind of like it's a great like if you travel by car or if you're like kind of backpacking a lot, it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool because it shows a map and then people can put pins in certain areas and explain that area. And so they'll be
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
so when you're like driving down, let's say the 5 freeway, someone could put like a pin mark somewhere and be like, this is a good place to rest. Like the
Oh,
sun won't
nice.
hit you until 11 a.m. or you won't get, bothered by the cops or it's pretty
Yeah, that's
safe.
rad.
And so, it just has a bunch of little like information about everything everywhere. It's kind of peer based by travelers, and so that's a really cool app that I've recently loved. Um, I
So
think
you have
I
a
think
sleeping app, flight app, information app.
the basics, and then of course there was gosh, the Hostel World. I think is another good
Yeah.
one. We use that one extensively, and then
Yeah, Hostel Bookers, Hostel World.
And then determine, depending on where you are and what they have. Like for instance, we're in Europe. There's a ton of metros and stuff that buses and stuff that we wanted to
Yeah.
keep on. So like you get your municipality, whatever bus and
Yeah,
um,
every city usually has a train app and you can always download and it shows you the map. You can figure out how it works. Definitely suggest doing that wherever you're going. Look up what city. I always get in my iPhone and I look up, Germany maps or Germany train map and pull that up and download it because it definitely helps. You can do the buses. They have all that.
mhm. Yeah,
You know what I
and
liked when I found out when we were in Europe was they had that hitchhiker app. I forget what it's called. Remember
oh,
that guy had traveled from Spain all the way up to Paris, like to Paris,
like
just
blah
by
blah cars
hitchhiking.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
blah blah car. So basically, like let's just say you're driving from one city to the other city, and you already plan you're going to drive there alone. If I was going to be driving there, I can post on blah blah car. I'm driving from my city to this other city, and Keith could get on blah blah car, and he could look to see who's going from the same city to where the city he's going, and so I can post. I could be charging $5 for someone to get in my car and ride to that city. So Keith could book, I'd pick him up. Keith pays me however much I charge. Boom, Keith gets a ride to where we're going. So like you get a little bit of money, you have company in the car, kind of works out for everybody. And then the other one was couchsurfing.com.
Yeah,
And
couch.
like you could people that if you have an open couch in your front room, you can sell that for space to someone for someone to sleep on, while you're traveling. And what's kind of crazy is in the States is everyone's so fearful of that, but like it's normality in Europe. Like that stuff is totally 100% normal and accepted.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
loved it. I love
people just
that.
open the doors. Yeah, it's yeah, that's also great, and it's not always for cost either.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
sometimes you might just meet people and they'll just say you can stay over.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So I know that you have some essentials, and I know that DJing is bringing some of your DJ stuff is one of
Yeah,
your super
that's,
initial
I mean,
essentials. Like, what
I
do you
always,
have? I like to know the top three. What are your other? Do you have two others that are just they always have to come? Is it your Leatherman? Is it your laptop? What is it?
well, now I definitely bring a water bottle with me, some sort of
Hmm.
cantina. Um, I just don't like using plastic bottles. Um, definitely water bottle, definitely my, controller, Serato controller.
DJ
Uh,
stuff, the water bottle.
yeah, and I mean, like, other than that, like, it's gonna sound cheesy, but it's just kind of just being open. Like, just like I don't carry too much stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like even like my toiletries, I kind of try to keep to a minimal. I'm not gonna go out primping myself every day when I'm traveling. I'm usually just like, that's why like I love a good hoodie because you just throw
Yeah.
it on, you could just pop a hoodie on and just kind of cover up and kind of be anonymously walking around. Um, I, I'd like to say that, I mean, the camera
Yeah. Camera's important, I think,
gotta have my
and that
camera.
could just be your phone.
It could be your phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely could be your phone. What I liked about having my camera is it's waterproof, dustproof, and bangproof, and I can do things to it that I wouldn't normally want my phone to be involved
Yeah.
in.
You had a good camera. That was nice.
Yeah.
So I've noticed on like my travels, I pack things that I think I'm going to need, which I end up like, I probably almost never use it. So what is usually your most underused item that you pack that you always pack anyways?
Definitely clothes.
Too much. Yeah, I do the same.
Always too much. I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna wear a different pair of jeans, like 5 days in a row, and it's like you end up wearing one pair of jeans the same 5 days. So like,
Yeah. One pair of jeans is fine.
I would
Especially
say,
if you're traveling country to country, right? Like tomorrow you're going to be in a different country. They're not going to know what you wore yesterday.
yeah, nobody cares. Like, even if you didn't wear the same thing 3 days in a row, people are gonna be like, whatever, he's traveling. Like
Yeah.
you get hobo status.
Yeah.
Like,
Stop trying to impress everyone while you're traveling. Just like enjoy it, right?
yeah. So like, definitely bring. I like to bring like a nice shirt, nice pants, just in case.
Just in case, yeah. Dinner, night out, whatever.
Yeah, dinner night out, if you get a date or something, who knows. But and then other than that, I just try to keep it minimal on my clothes. So that's kind of one of the things that I've in the past I've learned that I do less and less and less and less of. Like when I first traveled, I'd be like, "Oh, I need all these things. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to put all these different clothes and outfits and yeah." And then it's like now
Don't
it's
need
like
it.
no, it's like almost like I literally and this has been kind of a problem for me and some of my partners in the past because when we go travel, it's like
You have the skills and they don't.
well, no, not only that, but like no, like packing, like since I just I wait to the last minute, right? Like I'm one of the worst. Like, oh, it's 5 minutes before I gotta go. Okay, let me just shove everything in my backpack because I just know what I'm gonna bring and I know what I'm not gonna bring and I know that less is more. And my partners, God bless them, have always been like, what the hell? Like they pack like 2 days earlier. They're like, come on, we gotta go. I'm like, I'm got this, no worries. So in that frame, I kind of feel like the way I pack, it's like like imagine you have to flee your house in like 15 minutes. Like what would you grab?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I love that.
you know. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
so you don't overthink it.
just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Because if you do need like, oh my God, I didn't bring my favorite T-shirt. Like, I don't know, you
Oh well.
buy
Yeah,
one
who
when you.
cares? It's
I
just
like
a
buying
t-shirt.
clothes when I
Yeah,
travel.
me
That's
too.
like
Great
cool.
memory.
Yeah, and you get cooler stuff. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you were if you okay, so now I know that Cuba is your fate, like that's still on the top of your bucket list and in all the places you've been now and all the things you know. What are the top three things that you would ensure you packed when you went to Cuba?
Well, I definitely would want to bring like a good pair of sandals that are comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
that are durable. Um, Even though you can probably get those there for dirt cheap too. I would want to bring. I don't know. I kind of. Oh, I forgot. One of the things I always love to bring, and this is probably because I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is you got to bring a towel. You bring a good towel, and no matter where you are, you're gonna have your kind of good towel with you. Because sometimes you might end up somewhere that like rents towels out or something. It's just this ratty towel that's like who knows what's been done to it,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so I definitely would add a good towel as an essential. Um, to Cuba, I would I think I'd want to bring um, some sort of music making situation. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that I would bring my DJ. I mean, I would, of course, I would bring my DJ. What am I kidding? I would probably bring something like, like a percussion instrument or something because there's so much live
Yeah,
music
on
there.
the
People
streets and
want to join
everywhere.
it.
I noticed that in Colombia.
And some good dancing shoes, for sure. Um, and probably just my appetite for.
What's funny is you said the towel is. I'll admit, like I take this from Keith. This last trip before I went to travel to South America, I I bought a travel towel, and before I went to leave a travel with Keith, I didn't bring a towel, and he had a towel, and I kind of at first was kind of like being all judgy, like this guy's got a towel. What is this towel? Man, he is so correct. You just bring these light travel weight towels that dry out super easy. Man, they're super crucial because you can pack it everywhere. It packs down super small. And they dry super quick and they do the job. So yeah, I agree. The towel was another essential. And one thing also that I definitely teased Keith about a lot was he had those vacuum sealed travel bags.
Oh yeah.
He'd pack all this stuff in, you pack your things in, and then you roll it down super tight so all the air comes out. And usually when you unroll it anyways, all your stuff's not wrinkled because all the air's out. And I would tease Keith about that. I
Mhm.
bought bags for this trip, and it is so beneficial. Man, you were teaching your game, leveling me up 6 years ago. I didn't even know it. But yeah, like those, if you're on a long trip, man, the travel vacuum bags pack your stuff so far down, and then also the towel. That I agree, those are super crucial.
Well, yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. One of the better things about the little vacuum bags that you can roll up is that if you have dirty laundry and you can throw the dirty laundry, just keep one just for dirty laundry, and that way you can compress because you're gonna have dirty laundry, like
Yeah, for sure.
all the time, and you can compress it, and it keeps the smell um,
Mm.
away from being inside of all the rest of your
all your
clothes.
other
You
stuff.
got funky socks or something. You're like, oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely those little compressed bags. Get a couple of them. I haven't yet used the box type. They have those like the little like
Oh yeah.
square. I haven't used those yet. Um, but yeah, little compressed bags and a good travel towel.
Man, I gotta ask just the last few some questions just to bring some impact to traveling and how traveling has made such a huge impact on you, and just to kind of help us understand where you have felt traveling has truly changed your life. This is definitely pending for our country, and I want to hear your perspective. But do you feel the states, like the United States, and like our media, our news, our government, cast a negative perspective on traveling, and why do they do that?
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit of a weird. Um, it's not as far as going negative. I guess it is negative because there's a lot of fear kind of developed around it.
For sure.
Um, it's not as open as like, when you talk to people from other countries, they're like, oh yeah, I've already traveled all over the place and I speak five languages and I was brought up that way. Um, yeah, and a lot of friends here are kind of more nervous about leaving, dangerous, getting mugged, killed. Um, Beyond that, there's also the idea that it's selfish and wasteful. Like I was told that I'm being selfish by traveling, uh,
Whoa.
and I really, my initial reaction was like, yeah, whatever, go fuck yourself. But but actually, I had to like sit with that, right? And like think of like, am I just being selfish? Like, am I like just wasting, you know, wasting money and using resources just for my own benefit of experience? And after thinking about it, I was like, no, actually, it's useful. It makes me a better person, which in turn makes the world a better person, better because I'm nicer to people. I'm more open to things. Like I'm not just sheltered and closed off. Um, and I think the more connectivity that we have with each other in this world, the better. Um, with having an open mind towards it. So in America, yeah, there is this weird kind of like fear of getting out there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
I agree.
partly, it's partly like physical threat, and I think it's partly like economical threat. Like, like, oh, you're just gonna go travel and leave. What about, developing your roots and getting a career and, putting into your 401k for when you retire, all this crap. And it's like, that's if that's what you want to do, that's
Right.
fine.
That's fine.
Someone's got to do the work.
Yeah,
um, no, I think everybody should travel,
I do too.
just like
100%.
they say that everybody should work in hospitality.
Yes, that's
Everybody should
100%. I
travel.
believe so too. Like a month of your life, everyone should have to work in hospitality for at least a month and get paid, and everyone should at least travel for a month, like just get out of your home country and expand yourself.
Yeah.
On that, like, is there any misconceptions that you had been taught or heard of like of another country specifically when you got there it was like completely shattered?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Um, I thankfully I've kind of grown up in a really uh I guess lucky and gifted environment where like my family are all
Yeah.
great. My parents were really nice and open-minded. So I didn't really grow up with a lot of hate, especially hatred towards anybody. So I didn't have any of that conceptions I didn't think about any of that before going out anywhere. But there's definitely like, going to Mexico, oh my God, you're gonna get killed by the drug cartel. And it's like, that's very, very unlikely. Like you're
Yeah.
probably gonna get killed walking in Detroit, which I mean, the only time I have been mugged has been in Chicago. So like, and I've been to a lot of kind of crazy places in this planet and
Hmm.
way safer than I was in Chicago. So
Yeah.
so there's some pretty hairy spots in America that people don't think about. And they're like, oh my God, how can you go to Mexico? It's like, well, because they got cheap tacos and tequila. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Good tequila.
yeah, good tequila. Um, that being said, I don't think that there's a country that I was looking at it negatively and was changed.
Yeah, good. Because it can happen, you hear things, you were taught things, your parents said things, the news says something, and then you believe it, and then you get there and you're like, whoa, that is like totally not true.
Yeah, like, oh,
Yeah.
really. I mean, I guess you can go like, okay, so to bring it back to the beginning of our story, when we were in Paris and we saw that girl get mugged, and then we ended up at the wrong exit.
What we thought was the wrong
What
exit.
we
Yeah.
thought was the wrong exit.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the trip, I bet if that same thing happened, we would have been totally
Oh,
fine.
yeah. We'd have walked out, grabbed our phone, looked for the map, and we'd have been
Right.
probably asked someone in the area, like, hey, can you help me? We'd have been
A little
totally
more
different.
a little more confidence.
Yeah. It's
And
how you carry yourself, having awareness and having perspective of where you're at and just carrying yourself as if you belong there.
if you look like a target, you're probably a target.
Yeah.
Um,
What would you say was one of the greatest gifts that like other people can receive for themselves through strapping on a backpack and traveling abroad out of their home country?
getting out of your comfort area, and you don't know what's gonna happen, right? Good things can happen, bad things can happen, nothing can happen, but you don't know. It's gonna be different from your daily routine. And I think getting people put in that kind of uncomfortable situation really develops their character and helps them grow.
For sure.
So that's, growth, that's the number one thing that you're going to get from traveling.
Yeah, I love that. If I like this. If right now you were to see yourself as a kid on the street and the younger you was passing you by, he had his backpack on overflowing with school books and supplies, like what solid piece of advice would you give him?
That's a good question. Um, I would tell my younger self, I would say plan more, you know, um, plan to travel more, um, travel sooner, and take bigger risks. For a while I was really afraid to take certain risks, and
Yeah, me too.
as I gotten older and more confident, I've realized that I could have done some more things that I didn't because I was afraid. Um, and so I just tell my younger self to be more confident and and plan to travel, like just do it, like plan it out and do it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, just get out there and do it. Like I've realized that in my times, when I was younger, like I'd say I was going to do it, and then okay, next year, and then the next year comes and I don't do it, and then next year, and then I didn't do it, and then that continued. That cycle continued for me. It was till I finally stopped doing that and really just saying, you know what, I'm just going,
Yeah.
and I broke that fear of that. Yeah, like you said, just do it.
But I mean, here's the thing, right? Like we were very lucky and fortunate to be in the position that we were to be able to travel. Like we didn't
Yeah,
have kids, we weren't married, we didn't have, too many things
yeah,
holding us back.
very very true.
And I want to make it clear that it's like no shame if if you got kids and you're doing your thing and you're working towards a future with your family, um, got more power to you. Like you don't have like there's no judgment like, oh, you don't travel. Like that's a really honorable thing and that's really beautiful. That being said, you can also it doesn't mean that your life is over. Like I know
No, they can travel when the kids get old enough,
I've
18,
seen
19.
backpackers with like babies strapped to their chests.
100%. I have the most respect and I give the most credit to. I walk up to them and say, man, I really admire. They don't let it stop them. But sometimes, again, like you said, it depends on the situation. You might not be able to right now, and people can be doing that when they're 40, 50, 55, 60.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
still, getting to experience that growth at that point is still going to be life changing.
Well, and there's also, I mean, you don't have to go on a 3-month backpacking trip across the
Exactly.
world. Like you can go to your nearest national forest and go camping for a few days. Go camping for like a day more than you'd be comfortable, right? Like, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
be like, "Oh, I do 4 days, and just see what happens.
Buy 3 days worth of food and go for 5 days. Like, like just stretch it a bit, stretch yourself a bit.
Yeah, and just kind of test yourself. Checks and balances on who you are. It's good to do.
Yeah, it's fun. I do like the stress part of like just being uncomfortable, whether that is, no matter where it's at. Um, man, Keith, any last piece of advice for anyone listening when it comes to life or traveling? Like any quotes you live by that you can share before we jump out of here?
I mean, I think one advice tip. Definitely continue to listen to this podcast because it's just
Thanks, brother.
it's
Appreciate
gonna
it.
get better and better. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more of it. And another thing is just be easy, patient. You know, like like I said, just because you can't travel right now doesn't mean you can't do it in 6 months.
Mm.
And if you plan it out and you just kind of set that as your goal, you'll do it, and you'll be surprised on how easy it is. And then you'll look back, after that and be like, oh my God, I can do this all the time. I can do this a lot easier. It's not impossible. I can go travel even for a weekend. Like I can do it. So yeah, step one, get your passport, you know. Um, then step two, buy a ticket.
Yeah,
Especially if you
buy
don't
the
have
ticket.
kids or any career or anything holding you back and you're just kind of sitting around, like stop buying booze, stop going out for a month, save a couple $100.
Yeah.
Like pick up another side job, like side hustle, like go knit socks for people, like do whatever you can, make a little bit of extra change, and then just go somewhere. And who knows what kind of opportunities are going to open up. You
Oh,
might end up DJing in Hong Kong for a year.
teaching
Oh,
English to kindergartners, and
yeah,
there you go.
kindergarten, like, and you just don't know until you try. So say yes and try.
I love it, man. Thank you so much, Keith, my brother. I really appreciate you being on the show. Truly an honor to have you here with me to start this journey for the podcast. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your stories, man. And to what you said earlier, we need to get out there and get after it again. Those 4 months traveling together were probably some of the best of my life, man. Epic, epic times.
Of course, man. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate you inviting me on. This has been great, especially reliving it. And I look forward to hearing more, man. And let's get on a boat and sail through the Caribbean. I'm down.
Man, I am up for that. I mean, if anyone knows me, I am so down to just get up and go. But with that, we are going to wrap it up for the first episode of What's in Your Backpack. Again, huge thank you to the first guest, Keith Andrews, Mr. AKA DJ KBueno. It has been an immense pleasure to have you with me to launch off this first episode. And everyone, welcome to the family and the tribe of Inspired Collective. Keith, stay safe out there. Keep that bag strapped and laced.
Yeah, buddy.
And that will wrap it up for episode 1. Thank you to everyone that tuned in for this episode. And just as a heads up for next week, I'll be having a dear friend and travel junkie, Mr. Romain Cholet. Excuse my French, but he will be joining me from the great lands of Cognac, France. If anyone has questions that they want to know about France specifically, please send them over and let's get you the facts you want to know. Because this man was born in Cognac, he lived and studied in Bordeaux, and as of recent has been living in Paris. Until next week's episode, stay safe out there, stay humble, and stay tuned for another episode of What's in Your Backpack. Try to remember that you can't buy happiness, but you can buy a plane ticket. And that's sort of the same thing. And lastly, when you see someone out in public, smile, because even just a little positivity is contagious.